you also had Tim Oxford of the Arkells on at least one track. What was it like working with Tim? What were his contributions to that song or multiple songs? And how do you decide what should have a drum track and what should have an actual physical drummer?
What a great question. Well, Tim was actually the first one to go on, and he played on "Never Said I Love You."
Oh,
And
on the big single. That's
yeah,
exciting.
that's Tim killing it. And what happened was we'd Tim's a friend, and he's been a friend for a very long time. He's a dear friend. And what happened was Andy and I had been kind of going back and forth with that song for a while, and he'd done some drum programming on it. I did some drum programming on it, and then we thought, man, we just really need somebody to come in and make this make this track come to life. And so I called Tim, or I reached out to him somehow anyway, and said, would you be interested in doing it? Would this be something that you'd be interested in doing? And of course, Tim, being the nicest guy in the world, jumps out and goes, yes, absolutely. So we went into Orange Lounge, and honestly, he did it in like one take, maybe two takes. Maybe it might have been two takes because something screwed up with the sound and we had to do it again, because he just crushed it in one shot. And
Can't he just be human like the rest of us musicians and do it in a bunch of takes? No.
freaking guy's in machine. And I love him to death. But anyway, he he came in, killed it. That was it. And I would send him updates every now and then. Here, check out how this track sounds, man. Some great drumming. But I didn't think about it. He didn't think about it. And then when Maya put her vocals on it, I was like, oh, okay. And then Alex was the last person to go on. He put acoustic guitars on it, and we mixed it, and I sent it to him, and he was pretty excited at that point. So he was very, very kind when that release day came out. He was sending me texts saying, congratulating us and whatnot. But yeah, I'm very proud to have him on that track.
It's crazy to see the success that they've had. I way back in the day, I played a show with them at the Scene Fest in St. Catharines, and it's nuts to see the amount of success over the years, like just consistent, getting these platinum albums, these gold albums, these number one singles. And it just seems like they just keep hitting it out of the park every time.
I need to take a moment and just say how unbelievably classy an organization that is. I've had a lot of interactions with them. Max, Anthony, and Tim, obviously, and Ashley, their manager. Just incredible people to work with, and just real class acts, but also like spooky talented. I don't really know Mike all that well, and I haven't really had any interactions with Nick, but the others, just obviously they're great people too, because you wouldn't be, if you're not a great person, you're not in that organization. So just, yeah, wonderful. And I couldn't be happier for them. Really couldn't be happier for them. They're doing so well.
We have a fan question sent here. This is
Oh,
from Instagram. So this is brooks.berg on Instagram. The question is, I've heard Alex discuss his fascinating approaches on guitar and various instruments on the wonderful Envy of None record during interviews. Alex has commented that a number of the tracks already had great guitar by Alf when he came to them. The record has layers of sweet guitar soundscapes. I'm interested in hearing about Alf's guitar contributions and approaches on the record. Gear, amps, plugins, pedals, no detail is too small.
All right.
We have a tech head here.
You have a tech head. I love it. Well, I used a bunch of different guitars on it. Yeah, some of them are right behind me here. I've got a Telly that's all over that record, and a Les Paul that's on that record, and the Ibanez, I believe, made one or two appearances. The amp I tend to use is an HT5 Blackstar amplifier, so it's all real amps. And I'm going through, typically I'll go through a thing called a 2-notes captor, which is like an amp cabinet load box. And I record that directly. I've got a really nice little SSL here, and nice converters and stuff. and record directly in there, and I just kind of take my time with it. But pedals, really no modulation pedals, all just distortion pedals. So for those of you that are guitar heads, I've got to look here. I've got an EP booster, I've got a Klon, I've got a J Rocket Archer, which is kind of a copy of a Klon, which seems kind of silly to have two of the same thing. But then I've got another thing called Cali 76 pedal, which is a compression pedal, and a Vemu Ram um, distortion kind of pedal. And that's it. It's just modulation. And then the plugins, a lot of Sound Toys plugins, a lot of just a lot of manipulation with things. But if it sounds like it's a real guitar, like, okay, now that's going to hang on a minute. If it sounds like it's a sort of standard guitar track, it's probably either Andy or myself playing it. And if it sounds like it's a pad or this pulsing thing and it's panning back forth and it's going backwards and it's doing all kinds of craziness, that's Alex. Except for the really heavy stuff. The heavy stuff on Envy, that's all him. I played more of a programming role on that, but that's it. Never Said I Love You, that's me in the choruses, and the bridge is Alex doing that wonderful finger picking style thing. There's this really haunting lead melody that comes out in the outro of Never Said I Love You. We call it the Blue Oyster Cult guitar. That's our joke amongst ourselves. That's Andy playing.
You need some cowbell on that track.
Yeah. There might have even been on the demo, who knows. But that's Andy doing that. Yeah, the big power stuff, that's me. The stuff in the verses, a lot of that's Andy. So we're all over the place with this. Honestly.
Well, that answer is like a dream for a guitar, a guitar aficionado, a tech guy. You gave him everything he could handle there. I think rumor has it that because of the pandemic, that the four band members were not in the same room until the album was complete. True or false?
False. False in the sense that Maya, Andy, and myself, back, I want to say it was 2019, January 2019. Excuse me. We were at Halo Music in Hamilton, recording drums and some vocals with David Steinberg, and at Orange Lounge doing Never Said I Love You, the vocals for Never Said I Love You, and the vocals for Enemy at Orange Lounge. So the three of us were in the studio, but Alex, Andy, myself, and Maya have been in the studio for interviews and photos and things like that, but we haven't actually been in the studio making music.
I was going to ask, I saw that you've had some big interviews where you've been on George Stroumboulopoulos. You've been on, hold on, the ongoing history of new music, Alan Cross. So these are two legends when it comes to music. Like, these are as big of music fans as you can get. You're probably used to being behind the scenes more in the studios. What has it been like doing these interviews?
It's been cool. It's I mean, God bless the other members because they're doing the lion's share of everything. So that's cool. I like that. I'm not shy. I talk for a living outside of doing music. So it's not something that I'm scared of doing, but I kind of know my role, and my role is to be a member, but I'm also sort of almost kind of like the behind the glass kind of guy in the group too. So I get it. And let's face it, I mean, I would want to talk to Maya and Alex and Andy if I was somebody else. So I get it. It's all cool. But it's been fun. It's been a fun trip because, we were joking about how this is not really my thing, right? It's not my world, but it's a fun world.
Yeah. You enjoy it, right? It's anything new. It's a challenge, and as long as you're being authentic and you're showing up with passion with what you're doing, then you always come across as genuine, which is awesome.
That's true.
So you guys have been raising money for the Ukraine through the new album. Where did that idea come from? So obviously it's needed, but where did the idea come from for you guys specifically to take charge with this cause?
That's Maya. That's Maya and Alex. And well, that's all of us. But really, I think it was Maya saying that I think we, if we can we do something? And And then we started kicking ideas around about what it was that that could be possible. And, then we started sort of like exchanging thoughts of Zoom calls and things like that. And so that's sort of how that that started. But my God, what a heartbreaking situation. Like just
And it's still ongoing, which is
oh
crazy, right? It's been a couple months.
yeah, and there's no end to this anytime soon. And there's just it's so unnecessary, just unbelievably like all war is just horrific, but I don't know. I don't know. There's just something about this one that really hit home with me. Maybe because so many of my dear friends are of Ukrainian descent. I don't know. I have no idea, but we were all just, just horrified by it, and any little thing that we can do to help. And people have jumped on board with it. So we're incredibly grateful.
You would think that these days with technology, with social media, that more of the world is connected, that almost everyone knows someone from other countries. You would think that this stuff would happen less and less, and I guess it does happen less and less. But just the fact that a war breaks out like this, that it's still possible in this day and age is heartbreaking and pretty unbelievable.
And absolutely, you couldn't be more right on. But the other thing too is like, why the hell are we surprised by this? Like, after going through Trump, after going through some of the craziness in Ottawa, after going and those honestly compared to this are minor things. This is almost on a unprecedented sort of scale.
Yeah.
But just considering everything else that's happened in the last like 3 years, it's almost part of me. It's just like, yeah, I get it. Here's another one.
Yeah, I guess there's a big difference between protests and then actual war where people are losing their lives. Like it's hard to believe when you see the stuff on the news and you think about us in Canada. You just can't fathom that ever happening, where you have to leave your home, where people are dying, where you have to pick up a gun yourself and defend. Like, man, anytime, even fictional, anytime I'm reading a book about war or seeing a movie about war, I can't imagine myself going to war. It's like, how do you know who's on your side and who's on? It's not like you're in red and they're in green. Like, how is there not friendly fire? Like, going out knowing any moment could be your last, like your friends passing away. I just, you get that feeling in the pit of your stomach when it's fictional, and then you see that this is really happening. And we personally know people in the Ukraine, and it's strange times.
It's just heartbreaking. Just all of it's heartbreaking. And I don't really know any other way to sort of like express it than that. It's just, Andy and I were talking about this the other day, and he was watching this woman who was walking through the rubble of what used to be her home, where she raised her family, and her husband and her lived forever, and now it's just not there anymore. And I was just like, oh my God. And it's one thing if it happens with like an earthquake, you can't control that. That's act of God or whatever. But this is just so unbelievably unnecessary, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, there's no easy way to segue back to the music from there. So maybe I'll just share some kind words here. So we got some kind words sent in from Joel Casme. So he was a guest on episode number 26 of the podcast. Podcast. I sound American for some reason there. The podcast. So he's a successful engineer and producer. He's worked with Sum 41 and Rush and Triumph. And here are the words that he sent in. He says, "I've known Alf many years, and I've had the pleasure of working with him in the past. He is a talented musical professional, and he deserves being where he's at." That's from Joel Casme.
Very nice of him. I'll pay Joel the checks in the mail.
There you go. Yeah. We had to pay a few of these people to say some nice words, but
I haven't seen him since the pandemic hit, but
he's also in his man cave doing some musical projects. So
that's the way of the world now.
So you guys have released 3 singles so far: Liar, Look Inside, Never Said I Loved You. What stood out about, so I believe it's 11 songs on the album. What stood out about those 3 songs that those would be the singles, that those best represent the band and the album, that those would, hopefully be the most successful of the songs? And then a side question is, what is your personal favorite song on the album? And are you allowed to say that, or is that like choosing a favorite child? Go ahead.
Yeah, well, it's a bit like choosing a favorite child, but yeah, oh God.
I love them all equally.
Yeah, no,
So maybe not favorite, but maybe if you put on the album and you could only listen to one song, or if you find yourself going to just one song more than the others.
Well, let me address the first part of that first. And I think, with Liar, it made sense to put it out. It made that the Netflix show Tiny Pretty Things, and it made sense to go down that road. I think we were all shocked that they chose Look Inside, although for most of us, it's like one of our favorite songs on the record, just because it's such a cool vibe. And it was, oh God, that thing was difficult. That was, every now and then you have songs that just kind of come together really, really quickly, and ones that are kind of a struggle. And that one was a bit of a struggle. And I think it was a struggle for everybody because of the way that the demo was done. Not in that it was done poorly or anything. It was just, it was so cool. It was kind of like, what do you put on this? This is just really cool, but I don't know what to do to it. So when the label suggested Look Inside, we were all kind of like really excited, because we thought, oh, this is going to be interesting. This will be really interesting to see how this one does. And I think Never Said I Love You makes sense. It was never written as being a single in mind. It just kind of happened that song's got a hell of a hook. And once Maya sang on it, we were just kind of like, oh, there's something here. So this one's a little bit special. But that's kind of how that came about. My personal favorite song, jeez,
he's going for it. He's going for it, guys.
I know. I like them all, Joel.
He's taking the hook.
I really like Western Sunset. There's a pretty heavy meaning behind that song, and the first time I heard it, I wasn't really aware of the actual, because it hadn't come out yet, and I just thought, wow, this is such a really, really cool way to end everything, and give us a breath of fresh air, and just the generosity that it would take to put that piece of music on our record still blows my mind to this day. I love that song. That's definitely up there. I don't think I have a favorite. I think Look Inside, again, it's got some great parts on it. I didn't play any guitar on that one. That's all Alex. I played keyboards on that one. A lot of Wurlitzer, actually. Some more traditional things that you wouldn't expect. Never Said I Love You. I love that song.
So Western Sunset, you said that's a tribute. So that is Alex Lifeson. It was a tribute to Rush drummer Neil Peart, who had passed away. That's correct.
Yeah. And it's just such a beautiful piece of music, and I don't hear it as being sad. I hear it as being hopeful. And I hear it as being, this real beautiful sort of uplifting end to a really dense palette. By the time you get to that song, it's kind of like,
That's so funny you say that, because my notes that I have, I had, instrumental, acoustic, very different than the rest of the album. Did you want to end on a hopeful note?
Yeah, kind of.
That's exactly what you said. So
there's all kinds of mixed emotions with that, right? Like there's some pretty profound sadness too, I would imagine. But I've seen now that it's been out for a bit, people have done like tribute videos with that as the underlying.
That's nice.
Yeah, and it's, man, if you don't tear up looking at that stuff, it's like you're dead inside. Especially for those of us that were such fans of that band, and of those people, more importantly. But yeah, to me, it's hopeful. To me, it's looking forward. To me, it's just a beautiful piece of music, and it takes you to wherever it is that it takes you to, if that makes sense.
We talked about the three singles. What's it been like hearing those songs on the radio?
I haven't heard them on the radio yet.
Yeah, I don't listen to radio, so I would never, I go and listen to what I want. So I'm listening to it, but on Spotify or the music videos. But is it that you don't listen to radio, or you?
No, it's just that I don't think it's on any of the stations that I listen to.
Well, you're listening to Jazz 101 or something.
101. Yeah. No, to be honest with you, I haven't, I've been listening to satellite radio when I do listen to radio, but mainly I just play I'm like everybody else. I do playlists off my phone and things like that. So, I mean, that's always an exciting experience, though. There's really not much that can take the place of listening to a radio station, and your song comes on and it comes out of the blue, and you're like, oh my God, there's, I don't think that would ever get old. It just hasn't happened yet.
We'll do an update episode when you hear your song on the radio.
Yeah, I'd be like, yeah, there it is.